All right, look at some new data from RSM. They say about more than 40% of the branded drugs we use here in the U.S., they come from Europe, about 18% of generics. So really, how big of an impact will these tariffs have, not only on pricing, but availability?
Well, I think, what was really causing investors the most concern was that this was completely uncharted territory. We've never seen tariffs in the pharma sector before. So it was a lot of sort of a guessing game of what the final rate would be. And given that the sectoral tariff expectation had been 25%, President Trump in July said it could be as high as 200%, that this 15% level is causing investors to really breathe a sigh of relief. And also what's very important, and it's great that you brought up generics, is that generic companies, they have very low margins. And so as part of the agreement, it was indicated that many generic products will have zero tariffs. So that is certainly something that's helping the sector as well.
All right. Does it impact availability of some drugs? Because some of these drugs are really important. There's cancer drugs we're talking about, diabetes drugs, and in all fairness, drugs that are important to some people like Botox.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that management teams and the pharma lobbying organization have flagged is that, one reason why the WTO has exempted pharma from tariffs is that it can lead to drug shortages. Drug shortages have been a problem in the U.S. for things like GLP-1 drugs, which has been very well publicized. So I think we still don't know. But all of the companies, both in Europe and the U.S., have talked about very, very heavy manufacturing investments, particularly in the U.S., one big one from AstraZeneca just last week. So companies are really ramping up production. So hopefully we can stave off any potential future shortages.
All right, so hopefully there's no shortages. Obviously, the health impact is the most important thing, but I want to get back to the investor impact. Are there any of these companies over there in the European pharma space that may have patent cliffs where they'll be specifically impacted if the idea this drug goes to generics, and you just mentioned no tariffs on the generics, and now their product's more expensive because of the tariff, the generics are, relatively even cheaper?
Yeah, I think that still remains to be seen. And just because this has been a moving target, most of the senior management teams on earnings conference calls have really been reticent to quantify any potential impact. But I think that in terms of how investors are thinking about the sector, we have, it's been a big underperformer all year. Over the last week or so, we've seen the sector outperform the European market by 4%. But the big question that investors are still waiting to hear from the U.S. administration is what action will they take on U.S. drug pricing? So, the overhangs for this sector remain myriad, if you will.